Hello, my name is Dominic and today I'm going to be telling you why you will never finish your game. All the tips in this video I have learned from personal experience, and you need to know these so you don't fall into the same traps as I did and never finish your game. The first thing I wish I knew before starting Quest, my first commercial game, was to plan out the game. When I started Quest, I mostly just winged it and I didn't really have a plan. Now that's great for some very small games, but if you want to make a decent sized game that is actually halfway decent, then you really need to plan the majority of it out. The reason you need to have most things planned out is because you can get a bird's eye view of the entire game before you even start developing it. Also, it just helps keep you on track. Hence why it's called a plan. A big thing that kills a lot of games is that people get excited and start thinking of new ideas to put into the game. And before you know it, you have 100 different mechanics that don't even work together and your entire project is just a massive mess. So please plan your projects before you even start developing it. So an example of some of the things you need to plan is the art style, different games you're taking inspiration from, how you want the core mechanics to work, the story, etc. And after you plan your game, at least the next thing that I wish I knew before starting out, double your development time. Now what I mean by that is after you have the majority of the things you need to do planned, you're probably going to be thinking, oh, this isn't that much, I can probably have this done in a year. Trust me, I have thought the exact same thing. In fact, I'm pretty sure that I thought this exact same thing on every single game I have ever made. I find that if you take the estimated amount of time that you think you can get a project done and double it, then you're actually really close to how long it's actually going to take to make it. The reason it's going to take double the time that you originally predicted is because things are gonna come up and slow you down. So for example, you may spend 2 weeks making the player script, and then 3 months later you add some new mechanics and you realize that you need to rewrite the entire player script for it all to function. But this time it takes 3 entire weeks for you to write the script. So now something that you originally thought would only take 2 weeks of development time has now taken you 5 weeks in total. My next tip kinda goes with my plan tip, and that is feature creep. Now I know you've heard this one quite a bit before, and so did I when I first started out, but it can't be said enough. Please stick with your plan. And I don't mean that you can't add little things here or there that was not originally in the plan. That is completely fine. I mean adding totally new mechanics like I tried to do with Quest. Originally I was only going to have a sword attack in Quest, but for some reason one day I decided that I wanted to add a bow. I spent 3 entire weeks trying to get that stupid bow to fit into the game, but I could not get it to work. So I ended up scrapping it. That is a case of feature creep, adding big new mechanics that you did not originally plan for. Another really big mistake I made when starting a 2D platformer was that I had never actually played a 2D platformer. Other than Mario, but also everyone's played Mario. So my point is that you need to play other games that are gonna be really similar to your game. And when you play these games, you're probably going to take some inspiration for your own games, and it's not a bad thing to take inspiration from other games. In fact, the general way that I come up with ideas for my games is by taking little bits of other games that I've played over the years and smashing them together. Believe it or not, most successful games actually copy other games. Look at Shovel Knight for instance, they just straight up copied the throwing anchors from Castlevania. The shovel fall is literally just from DuckTales. The map is exactly the same as Super Mario 3's map, and it even has enemy encounters like Super Mario. And the towns are definitely heavily inspired by the Zelda 2 towns. By the way, the last couple clips were from Game Maker Toolkit's video on Shovel Knight. Definitely recommend going to watch that because that has some really cool stuff in it, and the link is in the description. It's not bad to take mechanics from other games, but when you do, I strongly encourage you that you change them up a bit. The last thing you want is for all your mechanics in your game being carbon copies from other games. You want to make your game, not someone else's game. The next thing that I didn't know was that you need to have constraints on your own game. Now what I mean by that is you need to have a set of rules that you follow during development. So a good example of this is a color palette. This will keep you from having 30 different shades of the exact same color, and it makes your art style way more consistent throughout the game. Another really good example is pixel size if you're doing a pixel art game. I did not follow this when I started making quests, but after I switched to a consistent pixel size, it made my game look 100 times better than before. Asking for feedback is a must, and I don't mean your mom or even your best friend. I mean completely random people on the internet that have no relationship with you and do not care if they hurt your feelings. The reason you need people you don't know is because people that you know will cut you some slack because, well, they know you. People on the interwebs are ruthless. And the only way you're going to get better at making games is if you have 100 people telling you that your sword animation takes too long and it needs to be shortened. This exact same thing happened to me, and I'm extremely grateful that people told me why my games sucked. And this is also part of the reason that I have a website that you can download a demo of Quest on. Link in the description. Now there's a really big caveat to asking for people's feedback, and that caveat is that you cannot change or implement every single thing that people say needs changed. Sometimes you just gotta know what's best for your game and not change it. The next mistake I made was I did not work on my project consistently. Some days I would work 8 hours and some days I would only work 15 minutes. That is really bad for at least me because it causes burnout. Me, and I believe most game devs, actually find that if you work a consistent amount of time every day on a project, it helps avoid burnout. Personally, I try to work 2 to 3 hours a day, and I usually take weekends off. And I also really want to emphasize that you should take breaks every once in a while. Sometimes I'll take a week or two off if I get too burnt out, and after I come back, I'm way more productive than I was before my break. Making small games is a great way to build your game dev skills. I find that if I make lots of different games with different gameplay styles, it tends to improve my skills more than making one big game. I wish I did this a lot more before starting Quest. After about a year of starting development, I kinda just stopped working on Quest. Now, this is partial to many reasons, most of which are actually in this video, but one really big one was I was not really experienced enough to make a game of that size. So after I spent some more time making smaller games, I found that my skill level was way higher than it was before. So I definitely recommend making lots of small, tiny games before you make one big project. Also, when you make these games, you need to release them on itch.io or GameJolt or just something. You will get a bunch of player feedback, and that's really valuable. When you do start on your first game, make a demo of it first. If you make a really small 2 or 3 level demo, then you can use that as a proof of concept to see if the core game is any good. So for my game, the demo is actually the tutorial and 2 or 3 levels after that. And all of my game's core mechanics are in that demo to see how they feel together. And another big benefit of it is that you can release it to the public and get a bunch of feedback on the core gameplay before you go and spend a bunch of time adding a bunch of new mechanics. So that's all the tips I have time for. I would have put a whole bunch of more topics in this video, like how to polish your game, if you should just drop your project, game feel, etc. But I'm running out of time to edit this video, so this will have to do. If you want to see me make a part 2, let me know in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. Also, thanks to DevBanana for helping me out with the thumbnail in this video. I can't really thank him enough, so please go check out his YouTube channel. He makes amazing videos. The link is in the description. So yeah, thank you. Next video will be a quest devlog unless I get an overwhelming amount of people that want part 2 of this. Last video I said that this video would be a quest vlog, but I wanted to get one more video out before the end of the year, so I came up with this. So thanks for watching, goodbye, and see you next year.